Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Hey Boo. I'm Jackie.
Uh,
That's
I'm
Chrissy.
Christy.
Yeah.
Crystal.
And that's good. Yep. Okay, y'all.
We're on delay today, people.
There's a little delay. Somebody sprayed something up my nose. That wasn't right. How everybody's doing? Y'all doing good?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I don't know yet.
I think we need to get
I'm
payback for
tired.
Howard.
I think we should because this stuff has fire on
She
it.
ain't
I
so
smell
good after
it.
that spray.
No.
Good
He, he was
Lord.
wrong for that one. He was wrong.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
What you said? Wait a minute. Do you want to hear that spray, Jackie? No.
How rude, Howard.
I know it is rude. All right. So today we're going to be talking about Madame LaLaurie. LaLaurie. Yes. She was evil.
She was a little bit more than evil. I read.
She
Hi,
was
Miss
a bad
Joanna.
woman. She was
I
bad.
read probably 8 or 9 different articles, which all kind of gave a little bit of different perspective, but they all held true to the same basic story for her. Um, Now I know I was surprised to find out. Well, I mean, okay, so do you want to give the whole backstory, Jackie? I don't want
No,
to.
you can.
Okay. For Crystal, did you have something mapped out?
I mean, basically, she was born like in 1787. She died in 1849. I know her first marriage, she was 13 years old when she was married. She was married 3 times. Um, During all that, she was considered royalty or social elite in Louisiana, Spanish Louisiana at that time. Um, Her last husband was a doctor. Apparently, at one point, she wanted that marriage basically annulled, which the court would not grant her that. So she was kind of just stuck with that guy. And that's kind of, I believe, where her acts came in. However, her family did many acts of abuse to slaves because during that time there was some slave uprisings. During the uprising, some of the slave masters were killed, so therefore they thought the best way to control slaves was to beat them into submission. So she was kind of used to that, and that's kind of I think where her kind of thinking was coming from, but she took it kind of to another level.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives you the general background of her. I believe I read that overall there were 12 slaves that she had murdered. Um, some of them she tortured, and of course they died. Some of them were afraid of the punishments, and like the either 8-year-old or 12-year-old, there's kind of a conflicting story that they jumped off the roof just because they were afraid of the punishment.
So I kind of read the same thing, except for of course she was married 3 times. The
Yes.
third one was when I'm assuming they moved into the LaLaurie mansion because it would have her husband was a doctor, her third husband. I also
Yes.
think that so it was with the her third husband that all these atrocities were found out. So there was a fire within the mansion, and it was said that slaves had set the fire to the mansion to try to get the attention of people because it, they said that she chained the slaves up. She would nail them to the floor, to end tables, to the wall. That she would skin the slaves. It,
Was it that she
Hmm.
chained one up and she hit a candle over and that's what started the fire so people could see
Now,
the
see, I
fire?
didn't believe that. All I heard, and I believe that, and you're from there, so I mean that may be factual. Um, tour, they said
Now,
it
what
doesn't.
I had read is that one of the slaves had been chained to the stove, and it was
Yeah,
one of her older slaves, the 70-year-old, and she had tried to commit suicide by starting the fire. Like you said, there's a couple of conflicting
yeah.
stories, but no matter which way, it was going to happen, whether it was actual suicide or they were trying to get the attention. Because I believe in one of them that I read, when the fire happened, the LaLauries did not want to give the keys to the house for the people to go in and like put the fire out. So they kind of just broke in there. And then afterward, after the fire was over with, the husband had made the statement of basically people need to stay out of our business once they went in and found all the atrocities.
And that makes sense because I mean, if you have all these people there that have been abused and neglected and tortured
Hmm.
essentially, that's not something even that would have been acceptable even for the socialite that she was to be okay. But also, now
Hmm.
see, I read that the first two husbands, they died of mysterious causes, but they couldn't pinpoint anything on
Yeah,
her,
yeah,
Yeah.
and I couldn't really find
yeah. It kind of makes you
historical
wonder how they died.
exactly. So did she kill
Mhm.
them, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, it just seems awful odd that you know you have her and you have this situation and she didn't want to be in those other two marriages because that's what I took. So from the stories that I got, she didn't want to be in those other two marriages. And granted, if you're 13 years old, I can imagine why not. But back in that day, I mean, that was common practice.
Yeah.
Children were married
That
that
was it
young.
was very common to be married that young. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
And the sad thing is that she was able to flee after the fire and not even be prosecuted for any of the atrocities that had happened, because even back then, according to what I'd read, there was a standard that you were supposed to have your slaves in at least a decent livable condition, a workable condition, if you will. And apparently, those slaves were never in that condition once they actually rescued the ones that were left in the house. They were in a deplorable, just horrible, horrible situation, malnourished, beat up, uh, body limbs stretched. She was horrible.
I'm sorry if you see me making faces because that stuff got on my fingers, and I'm so happy to put my finger in my mouth and it started burning my mouth. That just wasn't funny no more.
And then I actually saw one article that said that in the attic they actually found body parts, organs,
Hmm.
limbs, head, eh, all kinds of things in the attic that would contribute to, of course, the torture, but it wasn't complete bodies. So, and that article also included the suggestion that there were at least 100 slaves that she had tortured or killed. And then it also said that while she was being investigated for being prosecuted for what she did, she got rid of and sold some of the slaves. And I don't know if that was to keep him from talking or just because she wanted to try to, take the heat off of her. But I mean, she was really a cruel, cruel, cruel person. What I mean, say, I know she vanished. Well, so
Was she married when she
she,
vanished?
she, yeah, to
Yeah.
her
So
husband,
She
what
right?
did
didn't
happen to her
vanish.
husband?
She went to France. She went to France and she stayed there. And supposedly that's where she actually died. Supposedly there is a grave, a headstone with her name on it there in France.
Well, but I also read an article too that said yes, she died in France, but they brought her back to New Orleans, and they actually buried her.
It's possible.
Where did that article
So,
say?
so she didn't come to like Mandeville over here and stay. She definitely went to France.
She did well, according to this article. She took Lake Pontchartrain to whatever boat or whatever and went back to
Hmm.
France. And then it said she died in France, but then it said that they brought her back to New Orleans and put her in a specific cemetery. Let me see if I can find that.
What cemetery? Because we gotta
That's
go check that
what I'm fixing to
out.
look up for you because I know I
Well,
read that
you know,
specific.
let me bring let me bring this point up. Bringing up the point of finding organs and stuff like that in the upper floor. Her husband was a doctor. Was he doing medical practice? Even though he was never brought up, never prosecuted, that's something to kind of think
I
about if he was
mean,
doing, dissections and stuff. Let me see.
You all frozen. It
oh,
says,
I'm
look
not
at all
frozen.
y'all pretty ladies, love and hugs. You all frozen.
Hi, Greg.
Oh, oh no.
Raymond said, I want to go to that cemetery. Me too. I want to find out if she's there. I want to go to it.
Hang on, I know I got it. I screenshotted it,
I
but I
didn't
didn't.
see that. I didn't find that. I did read where she wanted to come back to Louisiana. She wanted to come back at one point, but her children that were with her wouldn't let her come back, I think's what it was. I mean, it's possible that she could have came back after, she wanted to be buried here after she died.
Uh,
I mean, it's just really, really sad if you think about the condition that these slaves would have been in. If she treated them that bad, then that the food situation, they were probably given scraps if they were given that. Were they fed daily? Did they have access to water? Uh, just makes you think about how horrible it would be to want to basically commit suicide because you're being treated so horribly.
I found it, Jackie. St. Louis Cemetery number 1, New Orleans. Orleans Parish, Louisiana. You know where that's
Did,
at?
There you go.
didn't we talk about that before that? Oh, no, that was a voodoo person. Oh, wait, she is voodoo. Did we talk about she was buried in New Orleans before? And we wanted to go see her? I think before I got married. I
Exactly,
think
Eileen.
that's
That's what I was saying. The husband could have been practicing on the slaves, and he just was never prosecuted, or he was too prominent for anyone to even try to prosecute. And I
And I don't.
apologize if
I
there's a
say
horrible
let's go.
delay. I can't really do anything about it.
I'm gonna share some of the pictures, Jackie. I'll need you to hit share as soon as I
All right,
upload
where
them.
do I
Okay.
hit? Wait a minute, where do I hit
Hang
share?
on. It'll show you.
Okay.
You'll see it. You'll get an alert. Give me a second. Okay. So this, let's see. So do you have something asking you to share, Jackie? Down at the bottom, like bring it up on the screen, share.
Yeah, from you.
Yeah,
It's a edit share screen name.
share.
To save it.
No, just share.
Oh, oh, okay. Right
There we
there.
go. Okay, so this particular photo was of the LaLaurie house in the 1920s,
Yeah.
and what it looked like, I think, in a newspaper article, which I found to be, interesting because it's pretty close to what it looks like now. Which I
Hmm.
have. Let's see.
That's the one we were talking about, Madame Louveau. And we said we wanted to go see her cemetery. They must be buried at the same cemetery, huh? Madame Louveau, the voodoo
Marie
queen.
Laveau.
Yeah. I
She might
guess
be.
both of them must be buried at the same cemetery.
She might be. Let's
I
see.
think it was Cemetery One.
So I'm gonna share this one. I should have just shared the photo of me and Jason standing in front of the LaLaurie
Go
mansion.
ahead.
Well, I'll have to. That's in my other photos. These I downloaded.
They should have took a picture of me trying to get into the sucker that day.
Okay, I'll share that. So this is current day of the mansion.
I tried to get in there, nobody wouldn't answer the door.
Well, that's the thing. You can't even take tours of it because it's privately owned now.
I know, but I was like, "Hey, anybody home? I want to come in." Nobody didn't want to come and answer the door.
But they did let
Jack
people
Osborne.
they did let people come in and decorate
Oh,
some of
really?
it. I found an article, which I have a couple of those slides as well. I found an article that they went in
Look,
and
I
redid
think I have that photo, Jacqueline.
who.
I mean, so I think I have that photo. She probably has that photo of me standing by it, trying to shake. I was shaking it, saying, "Open,
Oh,
open."
that's funny.
I might have like that one hurricane that really didn't. I was just way too crazy. Oh, look how pretty.
So an interior designer came in and revamped that second floor parlor room. And this is inside the mansion that none of us have access to.
I guess when Jack Osborne goes in there, all the lights are off, so you can't tell what it looks like when he investigates it.
I mean, it's pretty fancy
Yes, it
if
is.
you look at this photo and watch. And so I have, let's see, I think I have one of the staircase. They redid the staircase. That was pretty cool. Let's see. Share. There we go.
Oh, that's pretty.
So, I mean, to look at the inside of what little pictures I could find of inside the actual mansion, since none of us have access, I mean, it still is really immaculate and fancy. Do you have any idea who bought it, Jackie?
No, I have no
No.
idea. I have no idea who bought it.
Obviously,
I
obviously,
really don't
they're
think it's
not ghost hunters.
that.
If they were, it would be an
The
open
last
place.
owner, supposedly in 2010, was Michael Whalen. He bought it after it was foreclosed. Now, whether
Yeah,
or
so
not somebody has bought it since then, you know.
Okay. Wonder if they have torn the walls. I don't know. I know that a couple articles I came across said that, they found horrible things in the attic, horrible things in the basement, horrible things in the kitchen. Um, but they're saying that she's the one who tortured them. But again, her husband was a doctor, so was he doing different experiments on people and she was being blamed for it? I mean, so I guess what's the mindset? We don't have access. I'm sorry, Raymond. I'm hoping that if I say it enough, that maybe somebody will listen and be like, listen, I'm tired of hearing you complain, Chrissy. I'll let you and 50 of your closest ghost hunting friends come. Then bam, it's on.
we have to say, whoever has access, can we please come and investigate?
Exactly. Please, and we ain't even got to investigate. We'll just take pictures.
Yeah,
Just take pictures and then we'll leave.
yeah. That's the only thing we need is just take pictures, maybe a little voice recorder or something, but take pictures, of some stuff.
Listen, we can strap the body cams to us and just walk through, have the
I
recorders
have two.
apartment,
I got two
and
body
take
cams.
pictures. That's all we need.
You have a
One or
body
two.
cam? You have, don't you have one too, Chrissy? A body cam?
I do. Yes,
So
I
we
do.
have three. So three different people with body cams just walking through.
Exactly. Exactly. Eileen, I better be on the. Yes, you're on that list. I said 50. Oh, we
Oh, we're
best
best
friends
friends
now.
now. Then.
I got you, Raymond. I got you, buddy.
Yes, I want to go inside.
Yeah, really. I mean, so I get it. I get it that, like, whoever lives there may not want to investigate it to spark up, more activity maybe. So I
Oh,
get
look,
that.
that'd be five because Raymond says he has two body cams. Look, let me
Oh,
get him up here.
bam. Okay.
That'd be
We,
five then.
we see you. Raymond, we're gonna put one on the front of you and one on the back. They did let Katrina and Jack in.
Yes, twice.
The
Really?
sad thing is the person that probably bought that place doesn't even live there. So why not open it up to the public?
Uh, paranormal investigations.
I read something about 2019 and the owner of it. Um, Let me see.
That's what I'm saying. The last I had was 2010, but and it could have been sold since 2019 too. You don't know because it's
I don't
I
not
know.
don't want.
very very
I don't know if
accurate
it
with
was.
the records.
I
I
don't know if
don't
it was
want to say this
resold
loud.
or
I don't want to say this loud, but Papa Czar knows the owner.
really.
Really.
Well, we're gonna have him do some finagling for us. I'm
Yes,
just
that's why
saying.
I keep. That's why I keep telling you.
Okay. Let's see.
I
Jack,
think that
shut
stuff's
up,
making my eyes water.
shut up, shut up, Jackie.
People won't remember. I forget a lot of stuff.
Oh, when it comes to this, they would remember.
Mention.
If I was on here, you'd probably kill me.
I was looking to see the LaLaurie mansion. Um,
It shouldn't
well, but
actually
the
be all
thing
that
is,
hard to find out who owns it.
I know we're sitting here talking about um we think that it could have possibly been her husband, but the thing is there were slaves that lived that were telling people what she was doing to them. So, I mean, that's not to say that I guess he couldn't have been doing crazy medical procedures practicing, but they're saying that she's the one that tortured them.
Well, what if she was the one that did the torturing and then he just, after they were just about dead from the torture, took over? But they never really saw him do it, unlike her.
You guys were froze like 15 minutes. I have two body cams. I mean, they did let Katrina and Jack in. Nicolas Cage owned it. Does he still own it?
No, that's that
He did at one
they.
point.
I think that's where that the other dude took over because they foreclosed on him. He couldn't keep it.
I'm going to tell Howard. He blames it being cursed as to why he went bankrupt. Wow, that's interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
While we're there, I'm visiting
Oh,
Human Rights' Mausoleum too. I gotta pay my respects. Maybe she tortured them to death and he played with the leftovers. That's what Crystal was saying. I mean, that could very well be. I mean, she was so sick and twisted and she had them on, hey, Eric, um, she had them on death's door and he's like, well, might as well try this experiment and see if it works or doesn't work. And
that's
if you're
true.
doing the experiment based on somebody that's already half dead anyways, you know what I'm saying? I mean, not that it's right because it's not right on any level and it's not humane, but I mean, it could be. Nicolas Cage lost the property due to back taxes. What what is Steven trying to say?
Do what?
Kowoa Mans.
Don't pay attention to him.
Okay. Stephen, we're I thought Nicolas Cage was a pretty wealthy actor. Did I miss something?
Well, apparently it looks like they slapped him with a $6.2 million tax lien for that
Wow.
house.
$6.2 million.
So I mean that could break. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Listen, why wouldn't he open it up to
yeah.
ghost
So
tours?
basically, he had. I
And
don't
he
know.
said
He
it
had to
was haunted.
liquidate apparently some of his other properties. Yeah.
Hi, woman. Okay. Hello, boss man.
Well, he
That's
said it was haunted.
well, that's what I'm saying. So if you have a haunted property, and even if you don't want to live in it because it's that haunted, why wouldn't you open it up for tours?
I
The
know. I
tours
mean,
alone are going to bring in the tax liability. I mean, and then above and
Mm-hmm.
beyond that,
that
because it's in
not
the
tours, but
most,
maybe private investigations where people
well,
could sleep in there.
that's what I'm saying. This is
Yeah.
the one of the most haunted locations, probably. Well, New Orleans is the most haunted city in the U.S. So why wouldn't you open that up to that and make your money?
Good question. How many years did he own it?
He unfortunately got typecast where he literally plays the same person
Um.
in different scenarios. And Steven, give me 6.2 million. I'll show you the best Farrakhan ever. Listen, I don't even know.
Well, unless it's been sold since 2013, that gentleman Michael Wellen apparently actually lives there. Unless he sold it in 2013, because apparently he moved into the residence in 2013. He bought it in 2010, but moved in 2013. So I don't know.
See, cancel. I think I had a photo. Yeah, I do. Okay, so let's see. So I came across this photo, Jackie. I'm fixing to share something, dear.
I'll see.
Give me a second. Share, share. So I came across this photo.
Hey Matt, what's up?
Okay. So I came across this with a short article that basically said, here's the front gates to the LaLaurie mansion that is a private residence, and they don't allow any type of tours or ghost hunting due to it being a private residence. And that was in 2019. So the article could have just been written in 2019, and that's why 2019 stuck out to me. But so are these the gates that you was pulling on, Jackie?
Yes. Is it the front entrance? Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was a doorway back there. Yeah, I think Eileen said she has a picture of me doing it too.
Eileen, I need that picture. We'll share it. We'll share it. But yeah, so but the thing is okay, so if and I don't know, maybe that's just a ghost hunter in me. I mean, if I own a location that is that haunted and has that much history, I I think I would want to share that. You know what I mean? I don't think I would
I think
want
I would
someone.
too. I mean, not even the ghost or paranormal aspect of it, just the history to the teachings that you could give about the history just from that house. I mean, you take the paranormal aspect out of it completely, and it's still a great historical value.
Yeah.
Hey, Scotty. Well, and that's just it. To me, a lot of these locations that we go on and we do paranormal investigations in, the historical value of the building and the land means more than any paranormal activity that I may capture. Now, is that a bonus? Yes. But if I go to these historical locations and I don't get any evidence per se to share, I'm okay with that because I like the historical value of these buildings and the land and the story behind it. And, not that I like people being serial killers because that's basically what she was, but,
Right.
it's just the history of the building itself.
He Nicholas
Well,
Cage bought
and
it in
so many
2007.
people, so
I'm
many
listening.
people want to take away the history. History, you have to have it. Good, bad, neutral, it doesn't matter. It happened. Learn from it, move forward. That's why you have history. When you get rid of it, then you can't learn from there. You can't learn from that. You're going to make that same mistake. Eileen, that is scary if you think like me, dear. But that's okay.
She does think a lot like you, honestly.
That's scary. Oh, God. There's two of us.
Oh, goodness. But I mean, if you take into account that he was her third husband, and we never did. I mean, I never found a link other than
Mm-mm.
the first two husbands died mysteriously. And I didn't find an article that gave details about her current husband at the time. Did you?
I didn't either. I just know that they were married until she fled. Excuse me. And then he just kind of goes away. So I don't know if he moved, if he died, if he was, anything about him. It never really said anything. Did you find anything, Jackie, other than what we know
I
have
haven't
already
heard.
said?
I haven't heard nothing.
Well, while I'm looking up this, I also, that kind of jogged my memory. I also read in one of the articles that she not only was abusive and torturous to the slaves, she was abusive and torturous to her own children. They had children
I
together.
mean, that would not surprise me. Yeah, I think she had one from her first marriage, or, yeah, one from her first marriage. I think, was it three from or two from her second marriage? She had four altogether, I believe. And I know one was from the first husband. No, the first husband died in Hungary. I remember reading that now. He actually passed away in Hungary. She came back to New Orleans after he passed away and gave birth, I believe, or gave birth in Hungary while she was there, and then they both came back to New Orleans after he died because she gave birth soon after he died. So that was the first child, and then I don't know how many she had with the second husband or the third husband. Actually, I can't remember.
Okay.
My memory's bad.
Mine too. I should have wrote this crap down. Okay,
So they should.
so
So they should have like relatives still, right?
so
Around the whole
Madame LaLaurie was born as Marie Delphine McCarthy on March 19th, 1787. Her family came from a wealthy background, including military, government officials, planters, merchants, and landowners. Her father, Louise Bartholomew de McCarty, was knighted as a Royal and Military of St. Louis. Her mother, Marie Jean Larable, was known for throwing extravagant parties that lasted into the late hours of the night. Only 7 years after her birth, her family had already owned 1,344 acres of land. Her neighbor, Count Pierre Philippe, who was famously wealthy. It is obvious that the LaLaurie was raised around the finer things of life. Her first husband, Delphine, entered into
Mhm.
her first marriage when she was barely 14 years old. Her husband, Raymond Lopez Angulo, I'm sorry if I killed the name, was a 35-year-old widow at the time of the ceremony. He was an officer of the Spanish crown and second in command to the Louisiana governor. On
Mhm.
June 11th of 1800, Raymond and Delphine were wed in a private ceremony. As he had lost his wife on the voyage from Spain, it is believed that Raymond bore some resentment towards the crown. This is linked to him having asked for a postponement for the dangerous trip, which was denied. As a result, he began to act in rebellion, which cost him his prominent position and ultimately his life. On January 11th of 1805, Raymond's vessel hit a sandbar off shores of Havana. He was killed, leaving his pregnant wife waiting for him to return. Soon after, Delphine gave birth to his first daughter, Marie Delphine Francisca Borgia Lopez Angulio. Oh my lord! Listen, she gave this child like 8 names. I can't. I cannot.
I couldn't
Can you
remember if he
imagine?
died in Hungary or where it was. I knew he died.
Can you imagine? I mean, seriously. Marie Delphine Francisco Borgia Lopez y Angulo de la Candelaria. That is that child's name.
Wow.
Shame on my mama. Jesus, take the wheel. I mean, there ain't even a room enough on the daggum birth certificate for that crap. God, can you imagine her
Mm-mm.
in kindergarten? Well, ma'am, I can't write my first name because I have 15 of them. I just can't. She needs to be
She
smacked for
needed a
that.
whole
Hello.
second paper for her name.
I'm telling you. Wait a minute, my birth certificate's special because my whole name won't fit on the front side.
Wow.
Okay, so when she finally returned home, she was met with surprise. New Orleans was no longer under Spanish or French rule, but instead under American ownership. Her second husband. As a young widow, it was no surprise that Delphine quickly remarried. On her 20th birthday, March 19th, 1807, she wed Jean Paul Blanc, an older Frenchman and a widower. As Delphine had obtained the estate from her mother's passing, it is believed that he viewed her inheritance as a financial opportunity. Blank was a ruthless businessman. He was not known for being involved in the most ethical activities. In fact, he was often
Hmm.
associated with two of the notorious pirate brothers, Jean and Pierre Lafitte. It is believed that he arrived in New Orleans with his own agenda, and Delphine's hefty inheritance of $33,007 and large plantation only encouraged him more. During their marriage, they would purchase a two-story townhouse and produce 5 children, including her first child from her previous marriage. The family was known to spend their time equally in the townhome and plantation. From the outside, it appeared that if they lived a privileged life, but things are not always as they seem. 10 years into the marriage, John Blank passed away at 35 years old, leaving Delphine to his supposed estate. Unfortunately, consisted large amounts of debt totaling over 2.5 million in today's money. In order to keep her own personal property and assets safe, Delphine was forced to renounce their community properties to the court and forfeit all mutual assets. Delphine would go on to spend the next 10 years trying to pay off his looming debt. As luck, or maybe unluck, would have it, Delphine's father passed away in 1824, leaving her a rather large inheritance. Her third husband. Her next romance began, like all the greats, at the chiropractor appointment.
Hmm.
In 1825, Dr. Louise LaLaurie arrived from France with one mission in mind. He was determined to rid the world of crooked backs, destroying one hunch at a time. The two met in 1836 when one of her children needed help straightening out their back, ultimately leading to a romance being bloomed. Delphine became pregnant with his child, Jean Louise Leonard LaLaurie. There she goes again. How many names does she need to give her children? Jesus, take the wheel. Okay. Before they were officially married, only 5 months after his birth, they were at a notary negotiation for their marriage contract. This was important because Delphine was worth a whopping $66,389.58 at the time. Once the assets were settled, they arrived in at the St. Louis Cathedral to make it official, but their marriage was postponed for 6 months. I don't care about all that. Just tell me when he died. Unfortunately, their marriage did not result in a happily ever after. They were known to frequently fight and separate before returning to each other. It is during this time that she began treating her slaves cruelly. In 1831, Madame Delphine LaLaurie purchased the available lots on Royal and Hospital. This would
Wow.
later become known as the haunted LaLaurie Mansion that we know today. This only proved that the money cannot buy happiness or save a crumbling marriage. On November 16th, 1832, Delphine sent a petition to the courts asking for separation from the bed and board of her husband on the claims that he treated her poorly and even beat her once. Wow. Uh, looking to see if it, and this just goes on about the mistreatment, the fire, great escape. Looking to see. It doesn't tell us. Dude, what happened to her
Mm-mm.
husband, man? So they separated and he just kind of disappeared before the
Wait,
fire.
he was there at the fire
Are you
because he
sure?
had made that comment that, yeah, he had made the comment about they needed to keep their nose out of their business, basically. I remember reading that. Let me see.
On April 10th of 1834, her horrible secret was finally revealed to the public. A fire had broken out at the residence, and both the police and fire marshals were not prepared for what they found next. A 70-year-old woman who had served as the residence cook was seen chained to the stove by her ankle. It was later discovered she purposely started the fire in order to avoid future punishment. The next day, several bystanders attempted to enter the slaves' quarters, wanting to ensure that everyone had been evacuated. After being refused entry, the bystanders broke down the door. It was during that moment that the full story of the LaLaurie Mansion horror came to light. 7 slaves were found imprisoned in rooms featuring their own set of scars and mutilations. After stories of her crimes had spread through the town, a mob of local residents had formed attacking the infamous LaLaurie Mansion. They made it their personal mission to destroy anything they could get their hands on. Before officers could disperse, the angered crowds had managed to inflict major damage to the property. In fact, it is believed that the walls alone were one of the few things that remained. Okay, it is confirmed that Madame Delphine LaLaurie did, in fact, have one loyal servant. Among the outbreak of the mass chaos, her enslaved coachman brought her carriage in front of the house. Delphine stepped on the complete with complete confidence, only angering the large crowd further. While the crowd attempted to stop her departure, she was able to get away. The ever faithful coachman then delivered her to an awaiting ship at the docks on Lake Pontchartrain. Delphine boarded the ship and fled from New Orleans. When the coachman arrived back at the mansion, however, the crowd quickly turned on him. They destroyed the carriage before they took their anger out on the horses, resulting in their unfortunate death. They killed the horses. Come on, people, get your whole self together. She's a serial killer, and I feel sorry for her.
Okay,
Men
supposedly he actually died in France also at the age of 59.
Okay, because this says later is believed that Delphine and her husband Louis eventually made their way to Paris, France. Eventually, Louis grew tired of living with Delphine, leaving her in Paris and relocating to Havana. While her children were believed to often visit their mother, they later all moved to Paris to live near her, based on letters sent by her son. It is believed that she had planned to return to New Orleans, but her family had greatly disapproved of this. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know exactly what happened because there's not a whole lot about him. Like I said though, I just found this saying that he had went back to France and that he had died in France at the age of 59 in like 1862.
Well, then he died way before her because, well, I don't know. 1941, a mysterious obituary plate discovered in the famous St.
She
Louis
died in
number
1849.
one number one cemetery. Um, so it was in 1941 where the obituary plate was discovered there in New Orleans.
Hmm.
Later found to be speculation as the dates of death did not match. Therefore, the location of her actual body remains as unknown. So they're saying that you can't prove that it's her there because the date of death on that plaque doesn't match her actual known date of death, I guess. I don't know.
Did
But
it?
that's, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's, this woman was crazy. I,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It said she died in 1849,
But
like what Crystal said.
yeah, but there
1849.
again,
So
I mean, it's iffy. If she died in Paris, if he died in apparently he died in Paris, she could have died in Paris. I mean,
Or she could have came
I can't
back
really
and
see the
died
family
in New
sending
Orleans.
her. I mean, yeah, I mean it's true. So I mean it's kind of up in the air. I mean it's not a for sure thing. But there again, another serial killer that did not get prosecuted for the crimes. You know, even though I mean I can see Jennifer Lee's point about feeling sorry for her. However, you know, you kind of can't take it out on someone else.
she's a serial killer, and I feel sorry for her. Those nasty old men kept
And I don't
people
think
pregnant.
I don't think she killed her husbands. Some articles that I read
Mhm.
seemed to gear toward that, but the more I read other articles that were good sources, it doesn't seem like she killed them.
So she must have
Well,
got.
and you have
She
to
went
remember
evil.
too.
Did she get evil when she moved
Go
into the
ahead, Jackie.
mansion? Did she get evil when she moved into the mansion? Because it sounds like she wasn't always evil.
That's
So
kind
that's
of
when they
what it
started
sounds
doing.
like in a way.
So they started. She started doing her killing to the slaves when she moved in the mansion. So she wasn't always evil. So something happened to her while she was in the mansion.
That would be my guess, and I mean
Maybe it's
that
the land.
it could be, or it could go back to some of the abuse or neglect or whatever she experienced in her first two marriages. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you never know what goes on behind closed doors, and any
Yeah.
woman or any human being who experiences abuse is going to have some sort of not a mental break, but some sort of mental scarring from the abuse or
Hmm.
neglect or harm. And it's some of us, hey, it may come out in that we're angry, or it may come out that we're sad a lot, or it may come out that we can't balance or control where we are emotionally when in certain situations. In her, it may come out in abusing her slaves. I mean, maybe it helped her try to heal herself. Does it make it right? No, not at all. But I mean, maybe that was her way of processing. I don't know. Because at 13 years old, I can't imagine being married. And I know that it was common practice back then, but at 13 years old, no way. I got a 15-year-old in there, and there's no way I can imagine him grown and married. You know what I'm saying? At 15,
Yeah.
Jesus, the kid can't even cook a whole meal. Like, mom, can you still make my taco type deal? Is all I'm saying.
I hear you.
Well, the only difference though between 13-year-olds nowadays and 13-year-olds then, at that age they were almost adults because you have to think they had to take care of the younger kids. They had to work the farm, they had to work, whatever housework. I mean, the mentality was different, I believe, in that time frame. A 13-year old then may have been equal to an 18, 20-year old now, to
Yeah.
whereas
Right.
it's not the same mentality. So, I mean, even though, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it was the right thing to do, but mentality wise, we're talking about two different mentalities.
That's true. That's true. I still can't wrap my mind around that.
No, you
And
can't. I mean, it's hard to nowadays.
yeah, and the life expectancy back then was shorter than it is now. So, I mean, I get it, but I just can't. I don't know. I don't say. Yeah, but Jackie, you're right. Something happened that made her flip a switch.
Yeah.
Something.
Hmm.
Something. I mean, you don't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to torture all these people and leave all these parts in the attic." You just don't do that.
Unless she was helping her husband.
I mean, that could be, but well, and maybe it was at the hands of him because
Yeah.
they said that their marriage was volatile and he was in and out because they couldn't get along. So maybe he was abusive,
Yeah. Maybe.
you know?
But
That's
also,
why we need to go in
don't
there and
forget
ask
that at
questions.
that time you also had the uprising of slaves trying to get freedom. And the way that the slave owners dealt with that was to make examples of those slaves that tried that. So she also saw that. Maybe she had some slaves that had tried to run away, and when she was making examples of those slaves, she found out that, lack of a better word, she enjoyed it. You know,
I mean, that could be. Jennifer, was she driven mad by she was driven mad by circumstance. Was it proven she did it? Define proven. They were investigating her and she left the country.
And
Um,
they
the,
found all those bodies up
hmm
there.
the slaves
Slaves.
gave testimony of the abuse coming from her. But again, she left before she could be prosecuted for those crimes. So I would say that yes, I mean it happened. I mean, if you're chained to the kitchen stove and you've got body parts throughout the house and they're telling about torturous things that she did to them and removing their skin and all kinds of stuff. I don't think they would make that up. I'm just saying. But was she ever prosecuted for it? No. But again, she came from an elite family, so she had money. What makes you
well,
wonder if she
too,
her family
back
up?
back then too, there was illnesses. I mean, did she actually kill as many as they're saying that she possibly did, or did they die from the illnesses that were going on? And she basically kind of just hid it too. I mean, that's another question. They did bring that up in an article, that some of them could have possibly died from an illness that was not known at the time. So there's another question too. Was it fewer? Was it more? Was it actually that amount?
Well, my thing is this though. So, like, I know one of the articles that I read depicted the horrible, horrible things that she did to those people. Like,
Mhm.
what did it say? Um, I am so unprepared. Okay.
And Raymond, I
It's
don't
kind of
remember
interesting.
reading anything where her family supposedly tortured her, because I mean she was of wealth, the elite status. That's not to say that she wasn't, but there's just nothing saying that her family, did anything like that. I mean, it did say that she was present in her younger years, when they were torturing slaves when the uprising had happened. She did witness that.
Well, and it looks like that, she chained them, she beat them, she would in them. And it said that there were body parts found in the attic, organs found in the attic, um, and that she basically assaulted every one of her slaves, probably everyone but the driver, because he was the only one that remained loyal to her.
I
But
know it
I'm
did
just,
say that she did free two slaves. Um, they named them. I can't remember their names, but she did free two of them. However, there was four of them that she had sold because I guess what they called the lawyer came in to check out some of the accusations of her mistreating slaves, and
mhm.
she did end up selling four of them. However, she actually bought them back through a loophole or something. So she sold them and then bought them right back.
Wow.
Aww. Now go away, Jason. Oh,
Look,
go away,
look,
Stephen.
look,
God, please don't. We don't need none of that.
I can't. I can't.
Okay.
Oh shoot!
If
If
he's
he
a
was
prominent,
a prominent doctor, was everyone scared of him? And listen, he was a chiropractor. Chiropractor don't do surgeries. He cracked people's backs for a
Hey,
living. He
maybe he
didn't
was
cut them wide open.
practicing.
I mean, was
He could have been
he?
practicing to further his career. I mean, you never
Listen,
know.
can't. I can't. I
yes.
can't. Hey, Justin, he might have under the table. Okay, listen. So are we saying he was doing backyard organ transplants in the 1700s? I don't know about all that, ma'am. I mean, come on.
Goodness.
So I guess
I'm just
nobody knows the reason
Mm-mm-mm.
why she really killed the slaves.
no, no, because she fled.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's still up in the air exactly why. I mean, other
Steven,
than
the black
just
market is
being.
real. In the 1700s, get your whole self together. Shoot, they couldn't even
I'm
perform
not
a
even going to
C-section.
part him up. I'm going to sell him whole on the black market. I'll probably have to pay somebody to take his ass.
Used husband for sale,
Yes.
slightly used.
We need to figure that
Slightly, very
question out.
slightly.
We need to figure that question out. Why she really did it. What was her reasons behind it? That's a good.
Well,
Maybe to
you may
research
have
it even
taken an eye
more.
for an eye literally before people realized you could really transplant. Well, and that's funny you say that because I also read in one of the articles where she had gorged some of their eyes out, and when she would torture them and kill them, she would leave them so their bodies were infested with maggots and just horrible, horrible scenes. I'm just saying.
Well, like I said, I mean, he was a chiropractor, but I mean, what if he really did want to become an MD? What would be the best way to further your career
It's
is
practice.
to, you know, look in there and see what's going on.
Well, you might be right, Jennifer. I mean, maybe we're all left field here. I just can't explain why the slaves would say she did it and not him if it was him. They'll have no fury like a scorned woman. I mean, there you go. Voodoo has widely used human organs. And, well, that's true. And
Yeah.
she was practicing voodoo, wasn't
Yeah.
she? So maybe it wasn't torture at
I didn't
all.
read that, but I mean, it's a possibility.
Hi, Jeff.
So it's 7 o'clock, and an hour went by quick.
Yeah, it did.
It did,
Yeah,
huh?
Very
it
quick.
did.
Very quick. And hey, hey,
Hey,
Nikki.
Nikki.
And that I mean, wow, that's some interesting things we came up with. Some more questions, huh?
Yeah, a lot more
Maybe
questions.
maybe we should like maybe think about those questions and maybe like um, I don't know about next week coming up with the answers, but maybe another week after, maybe come up with some more answers about it.
Sure. Hey,
That was
Eileen, we
awesome.
love you
But
too.
yeah, definitely do some more research
Yes,
and review.
we
Go
have
back
to go. We
and
have to dig deeper.
talk
We
about
have to
it
get into
again.
that mansion. I tried, y'all. They just wouldn't have up those gates. But I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I hope everybody has a great week. And bye.
Bye.
See you guys later. Bye.
Now I have to read about her. Sorry, Jen.